welcome to the Beverly's channel. I just finished making a few of these reversible aprons and I got to thinking this could really be a good project for a beginner sewer. There isn't anything complicated about them. It's just straight line stitching. So I think it'd be great for beginners. It'd be a fun gift for a friend. And what about yourself? Wouldn't it really be nice to just pull out a new fresh apron? Let me show you how to get started. You're going to want to check the link below to go to our website and download the pattern and the instructions. You're going to end up with a diagram that looks like this. It's going to tell you how to lay out your pattern, and you're also going to get a little pattern for this section right here that has a little curve to the armhole. So let me show you how we want to lay this out. I have two pieces, 1 yard each, of two different prints, and I have the fold right here close to me. I've put them on top of each other because it's a lightweight cotton, so it's not going to be a problem to cut through all of those layers. And I went ahead and I cut out this armhole. You're going to just want to cut on that armhole line. And now I want to line it up following these directions. I'm going to keep it turned this way so it's not too confusing for you. From this corner all the way to the fold, we're going to want it to be 5 inches. So I've got 5 inches, and we want this corner to line up exactly like that. The distance from here to the edge is 5 inches. So let's pin that. And then from this edge, we want 11.5 inches all the way down here to the fold. So let's see if we've got right from this corner. Okay, so just stretch it up. Okay, so we've got 11.5 inches all the way down. Our pattern is smoothed out, and let's pin that in place. Doesn't hurt to put a few pins along the way there. Okay. Now, you can use a pencil. You could use a colored pencil. Like if I was going to be marking on the dark fabric, I would probably want a white pencil or a yellow pencil. If you have a fabric pencil, you can go ahead and use that, but I don't feel like it's necessary because you're not going to see it later. You don't have to worry about it washing out of the fabric because we're just using it for a cutting line. So we're going to draw this line here so that we'll be able to cut on it later. And I'm extending it a little bit up here just because I want to be able to fully measure, because I'm going to need 28.5 inches all the way down here, and I want to be able to measure down to the end. So let's go ahead and start that marking. 28.5 inches. It's right here. I like to make about 3 or 4 marks so that I can line them up and make sure I don't have a crooked line. Okay, so now we are going to match up those lines. Good. And the fabric that's over here is what we're going to be using for our ties. So we're going to have this line go all the way across. Alrighty, so we've got that. We'll come back and do our tie measurements in just a second. But what we want to do now is to measure across here 11.5 inches, and that's what's going to be the distance that we want all the way across here, 11.5 inches, just like we have right here, 11.5. So let's find where 11.5 is, and we're going to make a few marks going across. And now we can connect those. Okay. Alrighty, we are almost done over here. Let me move this a tad so you can see a little bit better. These little ties are supposed to be 3 inches by 30 inches. So let's make a 3-inch mark, and I'm going to come over here at 6 inches. So this one is 3 inches and this one is 3 inches. And just do a couple of those going across here to connect. Alrighty, we have our ties, and the last thing is the pocket, which is 7 inches by 13. I've got 7 right here. I'm going to find the end there. And we're going to use the yardstick. Whoops. And let's mark 13 going across. And let's connect those. All right, I'm not sure you can see, but I think you can. Right here's our pocket. Here are our 2 ties, and here is everything that we need to cut out for our apron. So let's go ahead and get that cut out. Okay, we cut that all out, but I wanted you to kind of see the placement, the pocket, the apron, the ties. So we want to sew these 2 pieces so that we're ready to attach them to the apron. And let's start by working on the pockets. So you're going to take your pocket one at a time, and you are going to put right sides together like so. All right, and we're going to pin it with a little bit of an opening so that we can turn it inside out. What I like to do is to turn around. This is my folded edge, and I'm going to start stitching a 1/2 inch going down here, come down to the corner, and then come around and stop right here. Lift up my presser foot, don't stitch, and then start back in here, stitching and going all the way across. And I did it just to speed things up here for you. So I started stitching down this side. So you can see we stitched down here, I went off, then I came across, I stopped, I lifted up, I did not stitch, left an opening, and then I started again and went across. Now what we want to do before we turn this inside out is to trim. And we're just trimming it down to about 1/4 inch. I like to trim the corners, and then just a little bit right here. Do not trim this section right here that's open, because it'll make it really difficult to turn that little hem up to the inside. Okay, so we've trimmed our edges, we've trimmed our corners, and just right around there a little bit. So now you're going to want to turn this inside out, and I like to use a knitting needle. You could use the point of scissors, you could use a pencil, anything that's just going to help you get that to a nice little point there in the corner. So, okay. And then we're going to iron this. We're going to press this, and this little piece just kind of wants to fold right up in there. But to be sure, you want to measure how far is it here, 6 inches, is it 6 inches over here, and you want it to be the same here. You don't want your pocket to curve up, so pull it out a little so that it's totally straight all the way across. I went ahead and pressed that, and I have a pocket that's all ready to go here. Smooth, straight lines all the way around. Now, you're going to go ahead and do that 4 times because you're going to have 2 pockets on one side of the apron, 2 pockets on the other side. All right? So now we have our ties. And remember when I had you cut that, that's 45 inches all the way across your fabric, and we only need our ties to be 30 inches. So I would say cut off your selvage first. Your selvage you don't want to have. And now you want to measure 30 inches. And now you're going to cut all the way across on all 4 ties, which I've already done here for you. So I have 4 ties. Now we need to press this. So let me just pull up a little ironing board here. All right, so we have our 30-inch strip, 30 by 3 inches. Let's just press up one of the ends about a ½ inch. You don't need to measure it or anything. What we're going to do is to fold this in half and press all the way across. Then you're going to open that up and you're going to press on this side, fold it, press, turn it down to the fold and press. You're going to do that all the way across, and then you're going to take the other side, turn it to the center, and you're going to press it all the way across, and then you're going to fold up. You're going to have 2 folds across the edge here. It's kind of like a little taco, I always say, and you're going to press that all the way across. And I went ahead and have one all pressed for you, all the way across. So then I put a pin in the end here, make sure I don't have any raw edges hanging out. And now we're going to stitch this on the sewing machine really close as you can to the edge. I'd say it's about 1/8 of an inch. You want to find a little mark along your presser foot, kind of on the inside of your presser foot, some sort of a guide where you can stitch all the way across here and then down the side. Here are our 4 strips. They're all stitched. So now we have strips, our ties, I should call them. We have our pockets, and we're ready to put it together. So we've got our apron, and we're going to start putting on our pockets. If you remember over here, we have a little diagram that shows us actually where our pocket placement should be. And obviously there'll be one here, and because we're on the fold, there'll also be another little pocket over here. So we want this to be 5 3/4 inches from the bottom edge of the pocket and 3 1/2 from the side of the pocket. So let's go ahead and measure that. 5 3/4. Double checking. 3 1/2. Yeah. It pays to just double check. It's easier to move it around now than after it's been stitched. So we're pinning this in place. We're going to do the exact same thing over here, and we're going to do the same thing on our other apron and our 2 other pockets. Okay, I stitched those on, and I don't think I really mentioned to you before, but we're going to stitch really close to the edge, just like we did on those ties. And right up here at the top, you want to go back and forth a few times because it really needs to be strong and secure. That's where the pocket is going to have the most wear, the going in and out. So I like to go back and forth a few times, and you're going to go all the way around, and then that totally seals up the bottom of the pocket, that little opening where we had turned the pocket inside out. So we've got that all set. Now we're ready to attach our ties, and we're going to put 2 ties up here and we're also going to have 2 ties on the side. You can mix it up any way you like. I'm going to put these 2 up at the top. There is a stitched side and there is a folded side, and I like to have the stitched side on the outside, so the stitching is turned that way. And these are going to be a 1/2 inch from the edge because we're going to make a 1/2 inch seam coming all the way down here when we sew the 2 of these 2 aprons together. So let's find where a 1/2 inch is and put it just inside of that. And then I like the apron tie to not accidentally turn while I'm stitching, so I just pin it a second time down here. And let's do the same thing over here, 1/2 inch, and secure it. And down here, I'm going to turn this to the inside, raw edges together. I have my stitching along the bottom, and I want to measure a 1/2 inch from this corner. And now let's do this last tie as well. Now after you have all those ties in place, make sure that you have all of them into the middle of the fabric, because if in the middle of the apron, because if you don't, they have a tendency to get themselves over here and you don't want to sew them into the edge of your apron. Now we have our other apron that we worked on, and we have 2 pockets that have already been sewn to the front of them. So we're going to put right sides together, and we are going to match our corners like so, and we are going to pin all the way around the whole thing. And I like to leave about 10 to 12 inches open at the bottom so that I'll be able to turn the whole thing inside out. All right, so let's get that pinned. All right, I'm going to start right underneath the arm on the side up in this corner, and we're using a 1/2 inch seam. I'm going to go all the way around, and don't forget to leave that opening at the bottom. Come all the way over about 10, 12 inches, and we'll continue all the way around. All right, we're going to take out all of our pins, and then we are going to trim our seams and our corners just like we did on the pockets. So I'm going to trim the corners and then my seams. All right, now that we have stitched all the way around, we've trimmed, we are going to turn the whole thing. And remember when I said to pin down those ties? Let's take those pins out. There we go. Now, I'm going to use my little knitting needle to make sure my corners are good up here. Once we have it turned, then we're going to do a press. We're going to press, and then we'll do one final top stitch all the way around the corners, and we're done. Okay, when we press this, you want to be sure to open it up, and you really want to get the seam half and half so that the other side doesn't show here and this side doesn't show when you're over here. So you're just going to press like that all the way around. Alrighty, so we're pressed all the way around, and when we got down here to the bottom and we're turning our edges inside, sometimes that can be a little bit tedious, like how can I be sure that that's folded up in there correctly? So sometimes I will just use my ruler and measure a 1/2 inch because that was the seam that I had going all the way around. That's what I had around here. So I'll press that and then turn it over, and I'll press this up a 1/2 inch inside, and then I'm sure that I have a nice straight line all the way across the bottom of my apron. And I like to stick just a couple pins in there, and now we're going to go and we're going to stitch a 1/4 of an inch top stitch all the way around the apron, the top, the sides, the arms, all the way across the bottom, just to give it a really good finished look. So we're all lined up for a 1/4 inch. We're just going to follow along our presser foot here as a guide and go around the entire apron. Trim your threads, and we're done. All right, well, let's go ahead and press this, and we're good to go. So there you have it. It's finished, and I think it turned out really cute. And I do think it would be an easy project for a beginner. We love doing sewing and crafting projects around here, so be sure to check out some of our other videos. Thank you.